Topher, good morning, sir. How are you on a Friday? Man, that was good. That is good. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate.
I appreciate it. You can
Yes,
kill
sir.
that one,
Pause.
and can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for joining us, man. I appreciate it very much. Can I
Absolutely.
tell
My
people
pleasure.
a little bit about you? First of all, that folks may not know, and I didn't know anything about you. We try to play a lot of the conservative rap songs here, and I feel kind of bad because I leave off a homeboy on this one, and that's my mulligan of the
Uh,
day. So, but we've got a lot in the system that we play on opening bumps. Better known as Topher, real name Christopher Townsend, entrepreneur, political activist. Grew up in Kilmichael, Mississippi, at a big school called Montgomery County High School, 2009. 6 years in the U.S. Air Force. And I don't know, am I pronouncing this right? A cryptologic or cryptologic language analyst? How do you pronounce that?
it's cryptologic language analyst.
Cryptologic. How in the world did you get into that?
Well, basically, I wanted to join the military, but I didn't want to be on the front lines. So they
Hmm.
showed me a few jobs that I could apply for, and one of those jobs were linguists, and it was one more. I forgot the other one, but I was like, the other one requires me swimming and doing something else. I can't swim because I'm black. So,
Well, at least you're honest.
so I said, let me be the land mammal. Let me just get behind the cans. And so I
Yeah.
tried out for the linguist, passed the D-Lab test, the Defense Language Aptitude Battery Test, which allows you to determine if you have the capability to learn a new language. And once
Yeah.
I did that, went to basic training. They gave me Hebrew and had a successful career.
How did you get into when did this fire start as far as patriotism to probably which is not an easy thing to do for anybody in this country, certainly in Mississippi with the Democrat Party and with African Americans by and large, and a great majority on the Democrat side. How did that begin with you to make that decision?
Well, it all started with me joining the military. One of the things that I love about what they do is when they take you to basic training, they remove you from your
Mm,
environment. So many of us are familiar with our environment and allow that to suppress our true inquisitive nature. And if we don't get outside of that box that we call it the echo chamber, then we'll never truly challenge the ideals that we grew up with. And when I had the opportunity to do that without having my parents or my friends in my ear, I was able to really look at evidence and history through a clear lens. And when I finally looked at that, I said, "Yo, what have we been, what have we been doing
yeah.
as a race in America?" Right? It's like, I go back to Mississippi and everything I heard my mom complain about, it was the policies that were being pushed by the Democrats that was harming us, right? And so I was like, all right, so let me look at the platforms and see which one I want to vote for, because if I'm going to sacrifice my life or pledge my life to defend the Constitution, I might well exercise my rights. And I put the Republican platform and the Democrat platform side by side, and I really just went down and said, whichever one align more with my Christian conservative beliefs, that's the one I'm going to go with, and it just ended up being Republican. So I've just been pushing that side for the most part ever since. And
To,
luckily, because the Democrats have completely continued to go left ever since
yeah.
2016.
Topher, I had asked someone, and it's been a long time ago. I said, "What is the most uncomfortable part of this transition?" And he told me something I'll never forget. He said the most uncomfortable part of this is at some point a light turns on and you realize you've got a lot more in common with the Republican Party than the Democrat Party. And then you alluded to that. Front pew of the church, abortion, conservative ideas on patriotism, and that uncomfortable part is realizing you've been hijacked for a long time by the Democrat Party. And it's not an easy thing. One of the reasons we invited you here is what's going on TikTok, and kind of explain a little bit how you got involved in this one, because TikTok is now the House, the Senate, the Republicans, and the Democrats all agree that either they divest themselves of this, meaning them, the Chinese, or we shut it down. There are a lot of people who've come to fame, have money invested as far as through some of the promotions and everything else that don't want to see TikTok shut down, but also don't want to see the communist Chinese making inroads into our information on it. Where do you stand on this one?
Well, let me just make this clear. If they
Mm-hmm.
could provide factual evidence that the Chinese Communist Party is taking our data and using it nefariously, then sure, I will be on board with them. But they have not presented any information, even back when Trump first sued TikTok, or at least tried to get it banned back in 2020. Even then, they didn't provide any evidence. But since then, TikTok has made strides to make sure that our data as Americans is secure. And that's what Project Texas is, which they've invested close to $2 billion to make sure that we are safe. And what's a fun fact is that that's the only social media platform that all of our data is in America. Facebook data is split up between different countries. It's not all in America, and other companies as well. So my thing is this: as a conservative artist, as a person that's found my home on TikTok, the reason why I had to go that route is because the other media platforms that are controlled by American companies, they have their own bias as well. And that
Yeah.
bias is left leaning. And because I'm on the right, I get censored unfairly, considerably compared to those of my counterparts.
Yeah. So what
And
you what you're saying is the Chinese communists have been more conservative to you than Facebook or Spotify. I mean, Spotify. Are you still removed from Spotify?
I'm not removed from Spotify, but yes, and that's another reason why I'm glad that I'm on this lawsuit is because I've already
Hmm.
faced what it feels to have your family right stripped from you unduly. And that was when my
Hmm.
song The Patriot was banned, all because it was aligned with what went down on January 6th. And I had nothing to do with January 6th. And they removed my song for a whole week until I went to another distributor. And ever since we have been fine. But it's these type of things that you can kill somebody's momentum, especially when you look at music as my main source of
Yeah.
income. You know, if you're taking away a platform, I was reading some data the other day that media research stated that uh, I believe it's 75% of TikTok users buy music compared to I believe it's 60% of the general public. So we make more money because of the trends, because of the
Yeah.
algorithm, because of the ease of use of audio over there. And to me, it would be a big blow to what I'm able to feed my family with here.
If somebody else took it and it was seamless, that's not a problem you're seeing. Do you believe that it could be so as far as seamless? Because Kevin O'Leary was one of the guys, and Kevin O'Leary talked
Yeah.
about putting something together. So I think because um, TikTok has found a way to monetize that social media platform faster than anybody else, a lot faster than Twitter and even now X. I mean, they're selling everything on there. It's become lately kind of a gadget network, and it's incredible some of the deals on there.
Yeah, it's his own e-commerce at this point in time, and so many 7 million entrepreneurs have begun their career there. I know I began as a full-time content creator around 2020, August 2020. I was able to leave my
Yeah,
job and become a full-time content creator, during the shutdown of COVID and everything else. So, to me,
crazy.
I've been on this thing for about 4 or 5 years, and I see the fruits of it. I've never once been concerned about my data being in the Chinese
Yeah.
government's hands. And which is interesting is because Facebook was recently sued for selling our information to a Chinese company that was already on the watch list, yet Facebook has not been told to be sold or been shut down. And so, what's the difference between us selling our information and then China just having our information?
You you're making some very good cogent points. I didn't expect you to have that count. I didn't expect those points as far as in relationship to some of the other what some of the other platforms are doing. I want to ask you when we come back, how many followers do you have, and maybe some advice for other people who are trying to get into this and monetize it also. And you're doing all of this from your home in Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Yes, sir. Philadelphia
How about that?
community as well,
How about
and
that?
from my house.
Back, we'll do it more with Topher coming up in just a moment. Hang on. Ladies and gents, Topher, by the way, 2020 campaign with for Donald Trump on the team tour bus in Las Vegas. Also had a chance to sit down and talk with the folks, and I think you did something at one of his. Did you do something at one of his gatherings as far as Trump is concerned?
Well, I went
One of
to
at one of the rallies.
all the up at DC. I was up in DC when it was
In
January
D.C., yeah.
6th. DC was up there. They had the Veteran for Trump's campaign. We was over
Yeah,
at a different stage location, and I got a chance to get on stage to perform my song at the time that was soaring to the top of the charts, "The Patriot,"
yeah.
and it was really cool.
It was number one on that chart, wasn't it?
Yes, it was number one, and then they banned it, and then after it came back, people got mad
Hmm.
because they found out that once again, here's the government telling them what they can't listen to,
Yes.
even though it's a
Yeah.
positive, value reinforcing song compared to what we also hear on the radio. And they ended up shooting it to number one. So we ended up landing number one on the Billboard charts February 6th, 2021. And that has been my biggest song to this day.
It's kind of a new movement, whether it's the Bud Light thing or Target or Jason Aldean is a good example of it.
Oh, yeah.
You tell them you can't play this, and all of a sudden that's the best promotion you could get to get your song
Absolutely.
to number one. So
Absolutely.
I
One of the
gotta
things,
ask you. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, one of the things I like to value as Americans is we don't like to be told what to do. There's a
Yeah.
reason why we have the freedom that we have here. It's because, when our forefathers came over here, they didn't like to be told how to worship. And so they ended up coming over here, discovering new land and
Yeah.
creating a whole new country. So it's in our DNA. So please stop trying to infringe upon our rights.
By the way, the videos are pretty darn good, rather sophisticated, and I can see you spent some money on them, and had a chance to do them with some other people who are very, very talented. But where do you do those, Topher? Where do you cut your videos? All around, or
Music videos or just my social media videos?
no, into your music videos? I'm sorry.
Okay. Music videos, it just depends. I've cut
Is
some up in LA. I know we shot The Patriot off in LA on that
mm-hmm.
side. We shot Olympus Has Fallen off in St. Louis, as we can see the courthouse where it had the I forget the court case, but over there where the same place where Jason Aldean got in trouble for for being in front of.
About that.
Um,
That's it.
then we've been kind of just all over. A matter of fact, Circle Back, my video I did for Circle Back was actually done here at a local hotel. So it just depends where I feel like I can get something done. A lot of times the visuals are important, but I do want to bring more messaging to my visuals
Mm-hmm.
coming in for this year. Sorry, and so
Man,
I'm looking forward
yeah.
to that.
Look at the nerve center of Philadelphia, Mississippi, with you and Marty Stewart now. Come on, man. that's, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah,
When you start looking at how things are shaping up for November 5th, and there are so many people speaking out as African Americans now, a lot of them notable, and a lot of young people. It looks like it's going to be a record number who are leaving the Democrat Party, and either Topher who won't vote at all or who's going to vote for a Republican for the first time. Do you think it's accurate?
oh yeah, 100%. Once again, this has been grassroots um, uh, reach that we grassroots work so that we have been doing since the 2020 election. I'm part of
Mm-hmm.
Blexit. I'm an ambassador for Blexit. I'm also a ambassador for Turning Point USA as well. And I've been promoting and talking about traditional values, two genders and, limited government, freedom of enterprise, and everything else on TikTok for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for me being visible, because it gave me a place to be visible compared to other platforms, then we wouldn't have as many people comfortable, right? It took people like me, Bryson Gray, and several of my other
Yeah.
friends to step into the music industry and to buck the current system that most people have to go through, and to show that you can be successful without having to, uh, you know, give up your morals and your beliefs just to get
Yeah.
into the spotlight. And that has encouraged so many people to step out on their faith, to step into their truth. So I'm just happy about that, and because of that, we're going to see more and more people starting to realize, especially after the truth about BLM came out, and so many people were bamboozled,
Yeah.
and then everything else is going on. It's I always tell people it's only so long you can tell a lie until reality really starts kicking in.
Yeah. If anybody who listens to this program for a long time, they'll understand I've used probably more than just about anybody else, use so much from the social media platforms, because that's what everybody's talking about now. What I liked about TikTok when I found that platform was they were doing a lot of posting as far as news. As a matter of fact, more sound bites. And what I loved, because it worked with this program, is I didn't have to listen to a 2-hour press conference, because they were taking the choicest bites out of it and doing it for me. They were doing my editing for me on that one. And it's still like that, as a matter of fact. I think even more so than X now, formerly Twitter. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. Politico did a write-up about us. Wired magazine did a write-up about us. I believe it was Washington, New York Times around the time. I forget which one it was, but back in 2020, we started with what is called the conservative hype house. They had a Republican hype house, they had a Democrat hype house, and this was just a conglomerate of creators who would just share one account, and we would
Yeah.
all take turns posting about our different stances and beliefs. And because of that, the government and everybody else started to put their eyes towards TikTok, because it gave power to the individuals, not just the appointed media outlets. And we all
Yeah.
know we can't trust the appointed media outlets when they're owned by, all of them are owned about 2 or 3 companies. So my thing is, when I hear the TikTok ban, and I've lived through the ramifications of other platforms when you don't align with their principles, I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to remove a very effective tool, not from the CCP, but from the hands of the American people.
The other thing, as far as politics is concerned, and I said a long time ago, when the Democrat Party doesn't need you, they stab you in the back. They discard you so fast, like a conservative African American, like women right now, as far as the gender battle, where you got some kids. I've been, and you don't want your kids in a bathroom with a boy or a girl, regardless of what the situation happens to be. So they've just forget about all of the women's rights and all of that. And I see the same thing happening with African Americans by saying, okay, now we got our necessary 10, 20 million illegals here, by some number, maybe 30 million when you count maybe 10 million already here. Those are figures people throw around. But if that's the case, you're not needed anymore. And that's scary when you realize how long the struggle's going on from the days of slavery, the civil rights, Martin Luther King, et cetera, et cetera. And I hope our African American brothers and sisters wake up to that and understand they've been discarded by the Democrat Party.
Absolutely. Everything points back to the Democrat Party. I call it a Democrat plantation. Whenever you look at the policies and
True.
everything else, but I also want to encourage people is like, call us Black Americans. I think one of the things that we need to get rid of is the word African before that. Is because we think we're African first, we don't think America first.
Yeah,
See, I'm
yeah.
America first because I'm born here. My parents were born here. I don't know nothing about Africa, right? All I know is America.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
all I know is
yeah.
America and I'm American, I
Well,
want to make sure that I'm protecting it. So I like
Topher,
to say Black Americans.
listen. I'm going to take your cue, because nobody sends the memo that is it one way or the other, and Everybody tries to be woke about this and they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But I'm going to take the cue from you and this date right now to drop African Americans and say Black Americans, and I think that's the best way to go. Real quick, I only got about 10 seconds. What's the latest song coming out?
I got the remix for Mr. Red, White, and Blue with Coffee Anderson coming out around July 4th. So that should be on the lookout for that one.
Don't be a stranger. I want to get you back on. Thank you, man. Appreciate it very much. Salute to you, and thank you for your service.